Hey guys, it's Kim from Honey Trail Farm, and I was refreshing my kombucha, and so I thought that I should turn the camera on and show you how to make your very own home brewed kombucha because it's delicious. It's my new favorite drink. I get really hooked on things. I'm not sure if you know this about me. Get really hooked on an idea and things, and I just do it. This is a warning though, just like any fermented food. I don't know if any of you have had kimchi or sauerkraut, homemade, not the canned versions. Or you create your own ferments all the time, but do not drink this entire confection at once, okay? It has a lot of healthy gut bacteria. It's not gonna hurt, like harm you, but you might have your bowels won't be very happy with you. Your belly might hurt. You might have to go to the bathroom. You don't want to shock the system with a lot of bacteria at once. But it is good for you. I usually drink about half at a time. And you can drink that multiple times a day. You just don't want to drink this whole thing at once. By incorporating kombucha into your daily life or your diet or just your routine, it's full of antioxidants. Antioxidants, obviously, they fight the free radicals in your body, which are the little things in there that's not supposed to be there. When things are out of whack, you tend to get issues. If you've heard of free radicals in cancer, I don't want that. So any little good guy I can get into my diet and into my body to fight off those things. In this day and age, we're surrounded by toxins all the time. Everything is poison. But good news, there's things that you can do to ward those off. It's because it's full of probiotics. So the reason why sourdough is good for you, it has all those good gut bacteria, easier for you to digest the bread in the sourdough. Kombucha works kind of the same way. So it's full of all the bacteria that you get when you're fermenting something. And all of these healthy bacteria inside of this work with your natural gut biome. Most of your immune system actually comes from the health of those bacteria in your gut. A lot of problems come from those ratios being off. There's good bacteria and bad bacteria, and it's usually like this. But when the bad bacteria start to win and take over, then you get all kinds of health problems, digestive problems, immune problems. You're going to get sick more. And honestly, I am prone to getting sick. If someone in my household is sick, I'm sick. My husband avoids everything like the plague, and I don't understand how. And I am always sick, and I feel like I do the most healthy things, which doesn't seem fair. So in order for me to prep for this winter, I've been thinking about what I can have on hand and how I'm going to prep myself, 6 months in advance. So when I need it 6 months from now in the winter time, my body is already going, okay? My gut bacteria are about to be so happy because I've been drinking this stuff. And honestly, every single person in my household likes it, and they would not drink store-bought kombucha. Not a one of them, because it tastes kind of vinegary. But what I'm about to show you tastes delicious. So this is a kombucha I started about a week and a half ago. It is going to take you 10 to 14 days, just depending on the temperature of your kitchen and the strength of your Scobby probably, to brew your kombucha. Step one in creating your kombucha is you have to get a Scobby. You want to think of your Scobby as like your sourdough starter. You have to keep it fed, you have to keep it happy, or it will die. Lucky enough for us, it's pretty hard to kill a Scobby as long as there's still liquid. You don't want any of this liquid to start evaporating, which this honestly could use some more. And what this liquid is just kombucha. It's just at the end of your ferment, you just put a little back in this jar with the Scobby, and it'll keep it nice and happy. I got my Scobby from a friend, but I will link some places that sell Scobies. Amongst other things, you can venture into all kinds of fermented things. I want to do kefir grains next, but right now I've got enough to babysit my busy season, so I'm not going to venture into that. But this is what I like to call, or this is what the kombucha people lovingly call the Scobby Hotel, because you're going to be growing kombuchas. Every time you brew a batch, it's making more. And that's awesome, because then eventually you'll have enough to share with your friends. You can make different brews at the same time, all different flavors. Isn't that so fun? But right now I'm gonna unveil this one, and she's getting pretty thick. Thick with 2 C's. Okay, I'm gonna take the kombucha Scobby out and watch how gross it is. You want to start with clean hands. I just washed mine. Ooh. I'm about to make a mess, but it's for this. This Scobby is actually alive, as weird as that sounds, and this feels like an 80s sci-fi film, but this is what is feeding on the sugars in your ferment. Now, before I get too overzealous and start bottling this kombucha, you have to save back a certain amount of kombucha, because that's what's keeping these alive. That's what's feeding your Scobbies. So I'm gonna take out 1 cup of my brewed kombucha and put it back in the hotel to keep my residents happy. I also just want to put it out there that I am not a professional. I just started this myself. But you know what? It's not hard, and you can do it, and I'll show you how. So I'm going to take out 1 cup of this and put it in the other jar. Ta-da! And that's all you have to do. And I'm going to put the lid on, and ideally your Scobby Hotel would be somewhere cool and dark, like the inside of your pantry or the inside of a cabinet. Definitely not in direct sun. And that's all you have to do. So my water has come to a boil that I put on the stove. Then you want to let it cool for a few minutes. You don't want to put your tea bag in boiling hot. The tea that you need to use for your kombucha is black tea. So this is just your regular sweet tea. And I have one that'll make a gallon brew, which is exactly what I need. So this is what I'm going to use. And I typically just add it into my kettle, but you can do it however you want. So I'm going to let this tea bag steep for about 20 minutes, and then I'm going to add it to my gallon jar. You really don't need much to make your kombucha at home. You need a gallon glass container or jar of some kind. You don't even need the lid to the jar, because I'm going to use coffee filter to cover the top to make sure no bad things get in, but your kombucha needs to breathe. You never want to seal the top on with a screw-on lid. To your gallon jar, you are going to add 1 cup of sugar. This is what's feeding the good bacteria inside of the kombucha while you're brewing it. So it needs food, kind of like your sourdough starter. You're feeding it water and flour. Without it, it goes anaerobic and it gets gross. Same thing will happen with your kombucha if you aren't feeding it. You have to have a sugar of some kind. Today, I am using, the more natural your sugar, the better. So if you can find raw sugar, organic or coconut sugar, or maple sugar. I'm using sucanate, which is actually the dehydrated cane juice. So I like to use things that are like as unprocessed as possible, so it wasn't bleached and granulated and whatever. For every gallon of kombucha you're brewing, you need 1 cup of sugar. Once your tea has been brewing for about 20 minutes, you're going to add it to your jar that you put your sugar in. I like to add the sugar first because you don't have to do as much stirring because this hot tea will dissolve your sugar. I'm just going to give this a good stir with my cheese knife to make sure that all the sugar is good and dissolved. As you can see, my kettle doesn't hold a gallon. It holds about a little over half a gallon, so I'm just going to fill the rest up with cold water. I am, however, going to leave a few inches of headspace at the top so that I can add my kombucha Scobby. But don't get too overzealous. This is probably the most important part, because if you put your Scobie in, which is the last step before you just set it and forget it for 10 to 14 days, is you add one of your Scobies, but do not add it to that hot liquid. You have to make sure that your tea is back down to room temperature before you add your Scobie, or you will kill it. Okay, for time's sake, let's pretend like my kombucha is cooled down, but it's not. I would pick out one of these Scobies. You just need one. Like I said, you're going to be creating many more Scobies as time goes on, which is the fun part, because you can share it with friends, or you can make multiple batches at the same time. But I would put my Scobie in my jar. I use just a couple coffee filters over the top with a rubber band so that no, bugs or fruit flies or flakes of anything fall into your ferment. Now, if you have a good memory, I'm happy for you. I really am. I, however, don't. So I will typically write today's date, the day that I started the brew, and then I will put the 10 to 14 day mark. So the days when I'm supposed to be checking it, I will also put that date on. And then I just take a handy dandy sticker and I stick it on the side of it, because out of sight, out of mind, am I right? And I'm just gonna go sit this underneath. I usually leave my brews over there underneath the windowsill, because there's no light gets in there. And it's done me well so far. The next step is that you're going to get some kind of glass bottle with a lid. I will tell you that I found these brew bottles, still has the sticker on. I found these at the Dollar Tree, okay, which is not the $1.25 tree, but it's got these flip top sealing lids. How fun is that? You feel professional. So into each of these jars, I'm going to put the kombucha, and that is fine. You can drink it straight away. It's ready to go. I like mine with a little like fizzy, like you would get from the store. So I'm going to bottle it with the flavor that I want and let it continue to ferment for 3 or 4 days until it gets bubbly, and then you put it in the fridge. But it's good to go after the 10 to 14 days of the initial ferment. You could drink it straight away. There are lots of different ways that you can flavor your kombucha. Just Google it. I've only tried this one recipe, and it's all that I have on hand right now. So I'm going to do it again because it was delicious the first time. And I hope I have enough maple syrup. So to each of these jars, I'm not measuring anything, but I'm gonna add a glug of maple syrup to each one just to sweeten it a little. You could use sugar, maple syrup, honey, whatever kind of sweetener you want. This is just what I like. And then I'm going to use pineapple juice because this is also just what I have on hand. But once again, you could use all kinds of different things. Google is your friend. I've got my first bottle done, and honestly, look at the bubbles. It's already kind of fizzy, but I'm going to mix it up and do a little taste test. So good. And even if you think that you don't like kombucha because all you've had is store-bought kombucha, I promise you this doesn't even taste like any flavor that I've ever gotten at the store. This is delicious. Okay, I've got my kombucha bottled all up. Like I said, just about everywhere has a Dollar Tree. It's cheaper than what you can buy online, and it does the job just fine. Look at how, it's not a pretty color. Like, it's not an enticing color that you want to drink because it's kind of just like doo-doo brown, but I promise this is delicious. So you guys can make your own healthy prebiotic drinks at home very, very simply, very cheaply, with not a lot of ingredients and not a lot of equipment involved in making this. So there's already a lot of bubbles in here actually, so I might check it after 1 to 2 days on the counter and see if it's fizzy enough for my liking. The second ferment is what blends the flavors. If you flavored your kombucha, it helps blend it together and adds a little fizz to your brew. So I'm gonna leave these sit anywhere from 1 to 4 days. I'm gonna do a little taste test every day and see, and stop it where I like it. I'm gonna go finish the birthday festivities. He got a go-kart for his birthday. I'll insert clip here, and pray for me as I worry every single day of my life from now on. But thank you guys for watching. Until next time.